Hi, this is Alberto Lombardi. Welcome to this little tutorial about live streaming with good audio and video quality on multiple platforms. This video is actually designed to help musicians, but I'm sure it can be helpful for anybody who wants to improve their streaming potentials. We will take a look at 3 possible audio scenarios and 3 possible video scenarios, and the way you can bridge audio and video. It's currently May 2020 and we are all in lockdown. So I was having some conversations with my friends, musician friends, about how we could improve the way we live stream because we're forced not to play any live concerts, and streaming seemed to be the only way we could still do what we like best, which is performing. The first possible audio scenarios of the 3 we will be discussing is if we have an external mixer. So we clearly step away from just using the phone, because what we want to improve first is the quality of our audio, especially if you're a musician. The external mixer can be digital or analog. And I'm sure most of you have some kind of rehearsal mixer that you use when you rehearse, or in your little home studio, or in your big studio. I have a recording studio downstairs which I don't use for my live streams, where I do have a mixing board, an SSL, and also a Pro Tools rig, an HD rig. But I wanted something for my house, so I created this little setup. And the importance of having a mixer is because you can tweak the individual channels. So you can have a microphone, like I do here, and the line signal from your guitar, your keyboard, and you can blend all the signals. The advantages of having an analog mixer is that it's way easier to operate, but at the same time it does give you very little control over your sound. So you will be able maybe to tweak the EQ, to put some reverb, but not necessarily to compress anything, or especially not to compress the master signal. The advantages of having an external digital mixer are that you actually can do way more with the audio. I'm actually an analog guy. I like analog gear. I have lots of analog gear in my studio, but live streams are more about convenience. You have to have things that work. So the digital mixer can work very well because you can make many things to each channel, plus it can do something to your master signal, your left-right signal on the output of the mixer. You can put a compressor, or even better, a limiter that can take up a little bit of your signal. In your mixer you can have one of these plugins that brings up the low parts of your, let's say, the speech, or when you pick your guitar very softly, and tames down all the peaks when you're banging on the guitar or shouting or something like that, or clapping your hands, stuff like that. So we say that we can have a digital mixer and an analog mixer. But what if we want to use our DAW? That's the second scenario, and it's actually a more complex one, because digital and analog audio mixers, external audio mixers, give you the opportunity to listen to what you do without any latency, because they're designed for that, especially the analog, but the digital too. When you use a DAW, you're dealing with the latency of your system. So if you put your headphones on, you will hear yourself a little bit late compared to what you hear in your inner body, and that's kind of weird. I'm sure you experienced this already. But the DAW has many advantages. You can use your favorite plugins to treat your audio, and you can play backing tracks. You can actually have a complete session open on Pro Tools or Logic or whatever and play on top of it, which is really neat to do. But in this case, you will probably have to have a dedicated computer for the audio. That's what I try to do. Even if I'm streaming with the computer, which we will get to later when we discuss about video and streaming, even in that situation, I like to have 2 computers running, one for the video and one for the audio. If you can do that, is better. The third option, so we said we can use a mixer, digital or analog, we can use the DAW. The third situation is the UAD interfaces and their software. What it actually is a computer in itself that does all the processing, and it has its own software mixer that you can run into the computer. That's why I don't put it in the same category of the mixers, because it's actually a software. But it's not a DAW, it's just a mixer in your computer that controls the interface. And that's what actually I'm doing right now. I'm using an Apollo x4 interface that gives me 4 mic preamps that I can use for all my preamps and my line signals. The advantage of using this over the DAW is that it has real-time processing capabilities, just like an analog or external digital mixer. What this means is that you hear yourself perfectly in time with your inner body. The latency is there, but it's so minimal that you don't notice it. The problem is that you will need definitely another computer to do this if you are willing to using a DAW. So what I'm doing right now, I'm actually using a computer for the video and a computer for the audio, where I run Pro Tools and the console of the UAD, which is its mixer basically, at the same time. So just a quick recap about audio. You have digital and audio external mixer, DAW possibly on an external computer or a different computer from the video one. And the third option is obviously the best. You can use an Apollo interface from UAD, where you have no latency at all. You can even go a little further and use a Pro Tools HD rig for this, which I have in my studio, but I want to stay in my apartment for my live streams. Okay, in the second part, we will take a look at what you can do with the video. You can use your phone with the computer, and you can use a DSLR camera or a camcorder. These are the 3 options that I would like to give to you today, because are the 3 options that I went through in my journey. First option, you just upgrade the audio and you go into the phone. We will discuss how you get into the phone later, but for now, let's just say that you use whatever audio setup you decide to use and go straight into your phone. This is clearly the easiest option, but it has some disadvantages. The first one is not the video quality of the phone, which will be the same as the second option, but you leave to Facebook or YouTube or whatever platform you're streaming to the power to control your bandwidth. So what happens is that your image quality gets tweaked depending on how much bandwidth Facebook wants to give you, or YouTube. And that's bad. You want to give it a signal that is steady, and that we will see in the second option. This worked for me for a while. I just hooked my audio rig into the phone, but I was continuously being downgraded in the image quality by the platform I was streaming to. So we get to the second option. You use your phone, you still use your phone, but you connect it to the computer and use the computer as a source of streaming that then goes into Facebook and controls your bandwidth. I do this with a software that is free and it's called OBS, Open Broadcast System, which is a really cool software. It's actually a video mixer and production studio that runs on your computer. But if you want to use it with your phone, you have to buy their camera app, which is not very pricey. I think it's under 20 bucks. Let me check. So it should work both on Android, I'm sure it works on the iPhone, and it's around 18 euros. So it's kind of a good deal for transforming your phone into a camera. The great thing about using this method is that you leave most of the work on the phone, because the phone feeds OBS an already treated signal that is ready to be streamed. So the CPU of the computer is not loaded, and you can use your computer to run a software like a DAW if you want to. That's a great advantage because audio streaming is light, but video streaming is very heavy. The last video scenario is actually the more professional one, is the one that I'm trying to run right now, and it's using a DSLR camera. I have a Lumix Panasonic GH4, which is a good camera. It used to be the top of the line from Panasonic 4 or 5 years ago. It's a great camera for taking pictures, shooting videos, and actually for live streaming as well. What you see now is actually my setup that I use for live streaming with the Lumix. I'm just recording instead of live streaming. Obviously, the quality is much better than it is with the phone. I have an iPhone 11 Pro, which is a good phone and has a great camera, but at the same time is not a DSLR camera. It doesn't have such a big sensor where the light can hit it and make a great picture. It does work very well. I would say with the camera you get a 20-25% improvement in my experience. And that's the 20-25 that you probably need to get a very professional look. I don't know, but I just like it more. The problem with the DSLR camera is that you need a capture card. I ended up buying an Atem Mini from Blackmagic, which is actually a video switcher, so it does way more than I needed for the setup right now, but I thought I could upgrade in the future with more camera and I could toggle between them. But right now it's just working as a capture card. What it means is that transforms the signal from your camera in something that the computer can digest and then stream. So what I do is I send my HDMI signal from the camera to the Blackmagic. The Blackmagic then feeds the computer, which is running OBS, and OBS sees the camera from the Blackmagic as a video source. So just to recap, the three video options that you have are just the phone with an improved audio, the phone connected to a computer, so you get the advantage of streaming with a constant bit rate and your quality dramatically improves, but you need to use OBS and a software called OBS Camera App or something like that. And the third option is that you can use a DSLR, but it brings about a few problems you have to overcome, like using a capture card, compensating the latency of the video, and of course it's the most pricey option. So the third part is, how do we connect the two things? The best option that I have found is to buy this little device from IK Multimedia. It's called iRig Stream. And what it does, it's actually a little audio interface that connects both to the computer and to the phone. So you can connect this to Android, iPhone, or even an iPad. And it has two line level inputs. So you can feed this thing the output of your mixer, of your interface, and this just sends it back to the computer. Or the iPhone. You're doing actually a conversion, so you get out analog from the interface, and this converts the signal into digital again, but I think it's the most reliable option. I tried Loopback, which is a software that is inside a computer. I can route the signal from your interface into any other program in your computer. Is just actually a patch bay, a digital patch bay inside the computer, but it gave me some weird phasing issues that I didn't have the time to try to overcome, so this just works like a charm. So the fourth part of the video is about multicasting, which means streaming on multiple platforms. You have to have one of these services like Restream, StreamYard, Lula. You gotta have one of those subscriptions to be allowed to stream on multiple platforms at the same time. I think I went with Restream because it's the one that didn't touch and alter the video quality too much. I found I had mixed experiences with StreamYard, which was good. It was way easier to use, but at the same time it gave me some troubles with the image quality, so I settled with Restream. The main issue with all these services is that none of them allow you to stream at the same time on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I know a service called Lula TV that allows you to stream on Instagram. I never tried it, but it doesn't do Facebook, so you can do Instagram and YouTube, but no Facebook. Restream and StreamYard allow you to do Facebook and YouTube. I also tried an app on the computer that is called Yellow Duck that gets the streaming key from Instagram, which lasts only for 3 minutes. You have to put it into Restream and stream right away because it expires. I tried it and it was very heavy on the computer. I get all sorts of weird situations with the sync, so I decided not to use it anymore. And so to close it all, what I would say is the way that I do it. I have my Apollo interface run by its Consolle software into one computer that runs the software of the Apollo and my DAW, which is Pro Tools. And that allows me to have real-time, no latency signal in my in-ear monitors, which are great. You just fit them in your ears and you can actually barely notice them. Of course, this goes in the back. And with no latency, so I can hear myself perfectly in my headphones. And from that, I run into my little iRig stream that takes care of sending the audio signal to the other computer, which is the computer where I run the video setup. I can do the same thing with the just one computer when I use the Apollo, just the console. If I do use just one computer, I don't use Pro Tools, I don't use the DAW, because that gets too heavy on the computer CPU. But if I'm using two computers, I'm okay with using a DAW. So the Apollo sends the signal to the iRig goes into the other computer, which takes care of the video, and that computer gets fed the signal from the DSLR camera via the Atem Mini. And the video computer runs OBS software that gets the audio signal from iRig stream, the video signal from my Blackmagic Atem Mini, blends them together and sends them to restream. That takes care to send the signal both to YouTube, my personal profile on Facebook, and my public page on Facebook. Another cool thing about restream is that it has a chat where you can see all the comments from all the platforms that you're transmitting to. That's really cool. And you don't have to see it on the same computer where you're streaming from. You can actually see it on your phone because it's just a web page. So you just connect to the web page of the chat, of your chat, you log in, and you see all the comments from all the platforms. I think I told you everything I wanted to tell you. Please let me know in the comments if you got any questions. I will be happy to answer. And if you didn't do, please subscribe to my channel for more stuff like this. I'll see you soon. This is Alberto Lombardi.